Well, I was talking about, that's funny. This was laying on the floor, Popular Mechanics. From October, God only knows what year. It doesn't really say. Well, 25 cents. Oh, 1933. I'll have to bring that in the house to read it. I used to pick them up pretty often. Okay, this is the motor for that old Volkswagen bus. The stock original 40 horse that came in it. The only thing that has changed on it is the distributor. I put in a Porsche distributor because then you have the mechanical advance. I still have the vacuum advance, but I prefer the mechanical, so that was just a switch that I made. Otherwise, it's the original motor. Now, what killed it, the last time I drove it, was an exhaust valve broke off. The head of the valve broke off. The body of the valve was still in here, you know, the shaft. But it broke off. So that head was banging around in there and took out the piston. Now, this isn't unusual, and in fact, this is the condition when I bought it. It had the same thing. A valve was out. And I repaired it then. I've had this motor apart several times over the years. But no, this hasn't been driven for a long time. You know, but the last time I drove it, it dropped that valve, and I thought, okay, you got to do that again. And I just never got around to it. But, because the theory is, you know, if you do this, you get shrapnel down in the crankcase. Well, so now I got to split the crankcase. I can't just replace the piston, you know, it's got to be taken all apart and cleaned out. Because there's got to be pieces of piston down in there. The head of the valve was laying in there when I took it apart. It hadn't gone down, it was stuck in here. And it did bang up the head a little bit. Not a big thing. I actually have, well, I have a set of new pistons and cylinders, brand new. And I do have all new valves for it. And I won't rebuild this head because I actually have a couple of better heads. Well, the same thing, you know, but these are haven't been abused, and I see these have got the bronze guides in them, which is a better deal. Like this is one of the new exhaust valves. You know, bronze guides, they don't stick. So it's better to use those. Now where I've got these from, I've got a lot of old 40 horsepower parts. Because I bought them from a guy who used to race Formula V. Now, Formula V is weird in that you're running a pretty much stock 40 horsepower Volkswagen. So then the racing is really up to the skill of the driver more. You know, it isn't just raw horsepower. You only got so much you can do. You know, you can polish the ports and stuff. I'm sure these are all polished up. But all glass beat them and grinder valves and stuff on them. But you can refine stuff like that. But you can't put like bigger carburetors on or anything. You know, they've got to be running. Well, they can lighten the crankshaft, I think. You know, stuff like that. It's weird little rules, but it's to keep them so that the cars are all pretty much on an even playing field power-wise. You know, then you start playing with chassis modifications and stuff too. And then it's up to the skill of the driver. So it's an interesting thing, but he was big into that. And when he got out of it, I bought up all his old stuff, so I got a lot of 40 horsepower parts laying around. A lot of new ones. Or good condition old ones. In fact, the crankshaft that's in this, I replaced the crankshaft one time I bought from him, was a 40 horse crank that had been magnafluxed, you know, so And it's got all new bearings and stuff in it. That's why I got to be sure and get all the crap out of there. You know, because it wasn't that long ago that I had put in all new bearings and everything, and it was all line board and everything. And I have the ability to work on these. That's not a big problem. And they're simple. You know, they're not that complex. You just got to be a little careful with them. But it's been sitting around for many years now. But the motor's still free. You know, she still cranks over. But, you know, she needs a piston. You know, you could stick a piston in there, probably make her run. No, there's a stoppage right there. There could be a piece that's, you know, you got to take them apart because there's undoubtedly shrapnel down in there. Don't want it getting like between the crank gear and the cam gear or anything like that. So it's all got to split the cases, which is not that big a deal. But then I'll put on new pistons and cylinders. I've been getting parts together for this for a long time, you know, to go at it again. So it's not a big deal. But it's funny now out here, this is in my garage, which basically I work on motorcycle stuff in here. I haven't had, the only bench I had cleared was this old wood one, but it'll work to tear it apart, but I'll have to get my other bench cleared off to put it back together because you really got to be finicky about them. But it's interesting. You know, it really isn't going to cost me much. You know, like I say, I've got all the parts to get it back together running. It'll be more involved doing the body work on it, but there again, I'm not restoring some, you know, I'm rebuilding it. That's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to make it better than new. I'm just trying to make it in the condition it should be in. But it was interesting digging around in here. I don't spend a lot of time in here unless I'm working on the motorcycles. And digging in here, moving stuff around to dig out this old motor, which was sitting in the corner with all kinds of boxes of parts. But in my digging around, it's funny, I run into all kinds of crap that I forgot I even owned. Like here's a brand new box of 6-volt turn signal bulbs. Well, I need them. Well, for both a Volkswagen and for my 47. So, they're hard to find now. I got a whole box of them. Tongue sole. You know, and I think I bought them at a garage one time. There was like a gas station garage that was going out of business and they had an auction sale and I bought boxes of stuff. So I got a lot of new parts like fan belts. I've got more fan belts. You know, I got a whole wall full of fan belts here, but they come in handy. But also, by digging around, I found an old Aladdin cup. I used to like these, the old Stanley Aladdin, and they don't make these anymore. So it needs a good cleaning, but that's a good cup because it doesn't tip over, you know, in the road grader. So I was actually looking on them online, and they're kind of a collectible deal again. And I found, an axe stone that I had forgot all about. Old one, coarse on one side, fine on the other. Good thing to have. And this handy-dandy deal, which some people might recognize, is a little sticky. But it is a tool for when you're skinning a fox or a coon, for pulling the bone out of the tail. That's what that's for. So I got to keep track of that. Don't want to lose it. I'll throw it in the windowsill a little. That's usually what happens with stuff I keep track of. But I'll be going at this. I don't know how much I'll go into. In fact, here's one thing I have to replace is the pulley. The weld broke one time. And the pulley was spinning free. So I welded it back onto the hub, but they have a timing mark on them And so it was, whether it's exact or not, I do not know. So I'm going to have to. But you can buy a replacement, so I might have one of them laying in my junk too. They're quite a motor though. But it's funny. When I lifted it up on the bench here, it seems to weigh more than they used to. It ain't that. I'm not used to lifting a. Because normally, you can lift up a Volkswagen motor quite easily. But I am not as spry as I once was, evidently. Get all this tin off, pull both sides off. There, like I said, they're a simple motor. And I actually should, this is the original oil cooler. I should actually think about replacing that. Because it's vital. The cooling on these things is their weak spot. They've got a shroud that goes over. Yeah, it's laying around here someplace. Blows the air down here, and then it comes down here and comes out these heater boxes. It's a hell of an arrangement. But the oil cooler is a vital part of that. And if that gets plugged up, you will cook the motor. But I kind of know where I'm at now. I have to go get some tools and strip it down. I bring these over to my brothers and glass beat them, get them all cleaned up. But it's good to see the good guides in there. And I think these have got what they call a Lyle kit. They used to have trouble with these rocker studs pulling out. And then your whole rocker arm would come loose. Well, then they made a kit that actually went in there and locked them in a little better. And I'm sure they've been redone. Because I've had that happen. I've had about everything happen with these that can happen. So I'm very familiar with them. Yeah. I don't think I need much more for parts. If I can find all my little screws and stuff, but I think they're in the valve cover laying here someplace. But that's the thing with these exhaust valves on a Volkswagen, they can break off. Really didn't chew the head up too bad, but as long as I got two good heads, I'll use them. Yeah, it actually isn't bad. I mean, sometimes I'll take the whole valve seat and smash it all to heck. See, it did bend the intake valve too, though. But there just ain't room in there, for a big hunk of metal go flopping around. But these new valves are, well, you talked to before, they got sodium in them that splashes back and forth when they get warm, and that transfers heat to get heat off of the valve seat to keep them from overheating and separating. So that's a worthwhile investment. They're a cool motor, but I still, they're easy enough to work on. But I've always said, I haven't run this thing for a few years. They used to make them kit airplanes that used a Volkswagen motor. I'll be darned if I'd be up in the air counting on a Volkswagen motor to keep me up there. They just really aren't that reliable a motor. They're easy to work on, but they do need constant tinkering. You got to keep your eye on stuff. And, no big deal. You break down on the highway, you pull over and fix it. Well, in the air, that's a whole other problem. But they're a good little motor in their own right. And, a common thing on these old ones is people put a newer motor in them, like a 1500 instead of the 1200. But then you run into you got to change the 12 volt and all that nonsense. And like I said, I'm not really into that kind of thing. I just want to put it back to the way it was supposed to be. I don't want to, I'm not doing a resto mod or a resto even. Just fixing. That's all I do. I just fix things. Leave them alone. But it'll be a fun project. This stuff is no big deal. The body work is going to be a whole other project, but I thought I'd want to get the motor together first so that it's transportable so I can drive it over to get it in the garage here to work on it. If I can clear enough room to work on it in here. Got to move a lot of stuff, so I'll be finding all kinds of more treasures. Well, I think I'll bring this in the house and give her a read. Probably all kinds of good information from 1933. I get quite a kick out of these. Great old magazine. It's funny to see stuff that they were inventing back then. You know, like even when they come with locking nuts, self-locking nuts, and all that sort of thing. You know, when that was the new thing.